In this video, we're going to be doing a review on the EMEET S800 Webcam, a 4K camera that actually doesn't cost a ton. Let's see how good it is. Let's start it off with an unboxing, then we'll go into the features. And here we are again, the EMEET SmartCam S800. I took it out of the wrapper so that it wouldn't be all reflective, but we can see the camera right up here. Along over here, it tells you everything that's in the box, the camera, the cable, and the manual. Nothing much over here. Here, system compatibility, compatible with Mac OS 10.10 all the way to the latest, and Windows 7 all the way up to the latest as well. So that's cool. UPC serial number and all that good stuff down here. Nothing too important. All right. All right, and the box here, I kind of just pulled it out, thinking the camera was here. All right, here we can see the camera. And nothing else here. This was just holding the camera in place. There's nothing here. So nice, they protect it from both sides. I'm gonna put this aside just for right now. Inside this box, nice thick USB Type-C to USB-A. 3.0, the EMEET SmartCam S800 manual. We'll go over all this in this video, and the quick guide. But again, we'll go over all this now. The cable from end to end is 5 feet long. And here we have the webcam. Right over here, this is what's going to hold it on top of the screen. So pretty nice. And then over here you can rotate it. Oh, and you could do that as well, so cool. Along the back over here, you could see where you would plug in that USB Type-C cable. And then right up front here is where you can open and close the lens. For privacy, that's nice that it's built in to the camera, not an external adapter. This is an 8 megapixel, 4K, 30 frames per second webcam, but it also is 1080p at 60 frames per second. It supports UHD 4K with HDR, and it's also using a 1/2-inch Sony image sensor. It has AI face autofocus, a 0.3 second super fast autofocus, along with dual noise canceling microphones that will reach up to 8 feet, so that's beautiful, with 4x digital zoom. So let's go ahead and test it out on the computer real quick. So we're testing the EMEET S800 camera. It's actually a pretty decent camera from everything I tested with the 4K at 30 frames per second. And that's average what you're going to get at 4K from a webcam. Now, you may or may not have noticed all the talking there is behind me. Maybe now that I've actually mentioned it to you, you're gonna hear it, but I have a large crowd of people talking behind me. You may or may not be able to hear it, and that's because of the AI noise cancellation the camera provides. Now, realize the camera is about this big, deep, and there's only so much processing that camera can handle. And I think it's actually a pretty good job at doing what it can for its size. Let me know what you think down below. I had to turn off all the talking and everything behind me. It was driving me insane. So now we're connected to a USB 3.0, a blue port. Now, you may not have a USB 3.0 port Type A that you can utilize. On the blue port, the USB Type A connection, you're able to get 30 frames per second at 4K. But if you only have USB 2.0, you can still get good quality, but you're only able to get 1080p at 60 frames per second. So that's nice. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Again, right now we're at 4K, 30 frames per second. Aside from the AI noise cancellation you saw, you're able to get some AI lighting as well. So right now we have lights everywhere and it looks as bright as it does, so you can see me talking about the camera to you. But if I turn off my overhead lighting and I turn off my studio lighting, the only light we have is the monitor right in front of me and that monitor right behind me, which is not going to light up a room very much. You can do a few things, but not a whole lot. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. So I'm gonna turn everything back on. All right, you saw how that light fades in and then now it fades out, and now we're normal like we were before. Another good thing that you want in a webcam is the autofocus, because you're not always going to be in focus. And if I put this right in front of you, does it focus really quickly? It does. The other cool thing about that is if I have right over here the paper and I move my face out like this, it's going to focus on my face. So it has the AI autofocus face detection. So that's going to be great, especially when you're doing a lot of different things around it. It's going to focus right on your face. So I'm taking you out of the video for a second so you can see the size difference between the two. You'll notice the S800 is a little bit longer. That's because it can do so much over the ZV-1. So first off, S800 has PDAF and TOF autofocus. PDAF, or phase detection autofocus, more quickly and accurately focus on each frame of the image for more accurate autofocus than the ZV-1. And then it also utilizes TOF, or time of flight, for a more user-friendly autofocus that better detects and calculates the difference between you and the lens itself to get a better focus. Whereas this one, I'm sure if you've noticed some of my videos, when I utilize the autofocus, it zooms in and out a lot and it gets real blurry. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Now, I'm going to drop out of OBS Studio because we're going to use the software that it brings, but I wanted to show you how it's going to work inside of OBS. And this is going to work in all of your telecommunications, Teams, GoToMeeting, Zoom, and all that different stuff. So that's cool that it will be compatible with everything. So now, dropping out of here, and now I'm recording at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and you see how good the image quality looks. It actually looks a lot brighter at 1080p at 60 frames per second. You have the ability to select 4K, or you have the ability to select 1080p. Both are going to look great. In my opinion, the 1080p actually looks nicer because it brings out the brightness of everything. So now that we've gone over the S800, I actually think it's a pretty decent camera, especially for the price. I don't think you're gonna find anything like that at this price point. The S800 is 1/4 the cost of the ZV-1. So it's a little bit better of a replacement for a DSLR, cost saving wise and feature wise as well. The S800 utilizes a large area 1/2-inch Sony sensor, whereas the ZV-1 uses a stacked 1-inch CMOS sensor. I started off the video with the noise in the background, and I think it did a pretty good job, especially again for its price point. I think that the camera does a great job autofocus. I thought it was amazing. It actually probably does it a little bit better than my Sony ZV-1, which is a little bit strange considering my ZV-1 cost a lot more than that one did, though they do have both Sony sensors. A cool feature that this camera has that not a lot of cameras do is you can rotate this and it will shut this lens closed, and you can open it up and it will open up the lens, whereas most either have a little lid you can cover here, or you have to use a piece of tape or something to block that. Privacy is an awesome thing. It's cool that it's been built into here. One thing I would have preferred that they did, while this does hold the camera in place like this, it would have been nice if it had a little lip here so it can firmly plant it on the back of the monitor. But regardless, it holds up pretty well for being like this. I also showed you low lighting, how well it did with all my lights off and only the 2 monitors as light, then also with the ceiling light on as well. And I showed you with everything off, everything on, and it actually did a great job again for the cost of this camera. All in all, I think EMEET did a great job with the S800, especially for the price. It's a very nice camera. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.